Hello and welcome. I am happy you are here. Right now, wherever you are in the world, you can take a moment just for yourself. Let the day fade away. Let the noise of the world become distant. Let your mind settle like dust after a long walk. Tonight we are going to explore the world we live on. This planet is full of things that will surprise you, things that will make you wonder, things that might change how you see the trees outside your window, or the bugs on the ground, or the ocean far away. Life on Earth is more strange and more beautiful than most people know. There are jellyfish that never die. There are trees that talk to each other under the ground. There are tiny animals smaller than a grain of sand that can survive in outer space. There are forests older than any city, and creatures that glow in the dark without any electricity. Some of the things you will hear tonight might stay with you. Other things might drift away like clouds. That is okay. This is not a test. This is just a chance to learn and to rest at the same time. If you enjoy this kind of thing, you can like this video or subscribe to the channel. It helps other people find their way here too. But you do not have to do anything right now, except listen. Get comfortable. You can lie down or sit back or close your eyes if you want. We are going to take a long walk through the wonders of this planet. We will visit oceans and forests. We will meet animals that think and plan and remember. We will see how life finds a way to survive in the hottest deserts and the coldest ice. We will learn about plants that count and insects that build cities and fish that change who they are. Every fact you hear is real. Every story is true, even as you breathe. So, take one more deep breath, let it out slowly, and let us begin this journey together. A journey through 100 quiet truths about the only home we have ever known. A journey through the mysteries of life on Earth. Fact 1. There is a jellyfish that can live forever. Near the warm waters of the Mediterranean Sea and in oceans all around the world, there lives a creature that has learned to do something almost impossible. This creature is called the Turritopsis dohrnii, but most people call it the immortal jellyfish. It has found a way to cheat death. When this jellyfish gets old or sick or hurt, it does not die. That is what this jellyfish does. It goes back to an earlier time in its life called the polyp stage. This is like being a child again. And then it grows up all over again. Scientists have watched this happen many times in laboratories. The jellyfish can do this trick over and over. It can restart its life again and again. This means that unless something eats it or kills it, the jellyfish might never die of old age. It could live forever. This does not mean humans will live forever too. Our bodies work very differently. But this little jellyfish shows us that nature is full of surprises. It shows us that the rules we think are fixed can sometimes be broken. Somewhere in the ocean right now, a jellyfish is floating through the water. It might be older than your grandparents. It might have lived through wars and storms and generations of other sea creatures, and it might live for many more years to come. Fact 2. Trees can talk to each other under the ground. When you walk through a forest, it looks quiet and still. But under your feet, something incredible is happening. The trees are talking to each other. They are sharing food. They are sending warnings. They are helping each other survive. Old trees, sometimes called mother trees, take care of younger trees. They send extra sugar and nutrients through the fungal network to help the young ones grow. If one tree is sick or dying, it might pass its last resources to its neighbors. A birch tree can help a fir tree. Trees that are far apart can still stay connected. Scientists have started calling this network the Wood Wide Web, like the internet but made of roots and fungus. It is not thinking the way we think. Trees do not have brains, but they do have a kind of intelligence. They respond to their environment. They help each other. They work together. In every forest, beneath the leaves and soil, there is a hidden community. The trees are not alone. They are part of something bigger. They are connected in ways we are only beginning to understand. Fact 3. Tiny animals can survive in outer space. There are creatures so small you need a microscope to see them. They are called tardigrades, but many people call them water bears because under a microscope they look like tiny chubby bears with 8 legs. These animals are less than 1 millimeter long, but they are tougher than almost anything else alive. In the year 2007, scientists sent tardigrades into space. They exposed them to the vacuum of space and to radiation from the Sunday. When the tardigrades came back to Earth, they were still alive. They woke up and walked around like nothing had happened. How do they survive such extreme conditions? They have a special trick. When things get bad, they dry themselves out almost completely. They curl up into a tiny ball. Their metabolism stops. They are not dead, but they are not really alive either. They are waiting. They can wait like this for years. When water returns, they wake up again and continue living. These tiny creatures show us that life is tougher than we thought. They show us that survival can take many forms, and they remind us that even the smallest animals can be incredibly strong. Fact 4. Oxygen used to be poison. Every breath you take keeps you alive. But billions of years ago, oxygen would have killed you. Back then, oxygen was one of the most dangerous things on Earth. Long ago, the air was very different. There was almost no oxygen. The first living things on Earth did not need it. They were tiny microbes called anaerobes. They lived in water and in soil. They survived without oxygen, and oxygen would have been toxic to them. For the old anaerobic microbes, this was a disaster. Oxygen damaged their cells. It disrupted how they lived. Many species went extinct. It was one of the first mass extinctions on Earth. But some living things adapted. They learned to use oxygen, and they found that oxygen was incredibly useful. It gave them much more energy than they had before. These oxygen-using creatures evolved into more complex life forms. Eventually, they became fish and insects and dinosaurs and mammals and us. So every time you breathe in, remember this. The air that keeps you alive is the result of an ancient catastrophe. Oxygen is both poison and gift. It depends on who you are and when you lived. Fact 5. Some plants eat animals. We usually think of plants as gentle and harmless. They sit in the soil. They soak up sunlight. They make oxygen. But some plants are hunters. Carnivorous plants live in places where the soil is poor. They cannot get enough nutrients from the ground, so they have learned to get nutrients another way. They catch and eat insects. The Venus flytrap is one of the most famous. It has leaves that look like open mouths with teeth. But if it touches two hairs, or touches the same hair twice within about 20 seconds, the trap snaps shut. The plant counts the touches to make sure it is not wasting energy on raindrops or wind. Sundews have sticky tentacles. When an insect lands on them, it gets stuck. These plants are not fast or aggressive. They are patient. They wait. And when the right moment comes, they act. They remind us that survival comes in many forms. Even something as still and quiet as a plant can be a predator. Fact 6. Every leaf is like a tiny machine. Hold a leaf up to the light. It looks simple, thin, delicate, green, but inside that leaf is one of the most important machines on Earth. Every leaf has tiny tubes running through it like veins. These tubes carry water from the roots and carry sugar to the rest of the plant. On the surface of the leaf are thousands of tiny holes called stomata. These holes open and close to let air in and out. Inside the leaf are special structures called chloroplasts. They contain a green substance called chlorophyll. The leaf takes in carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. It uses the energy from sunlight to combine them. This creates sugar, which the plant uses for food. And as a byproduct, the leaf releases oxygen. This process is called photosynthesis. It is how plants make their own food, and it is also how most of the oxygen in the air gets there. Without leaves doing this work every day, we would not be able to breathe. Every leaf is a small miracle, a machine made of living cells, a factory that turns light into life. Fact 7. Some oceans glow in the dark. Imagine walking on a beach at night. The sky is black, the stars are out, and suddenly you see the waves glowing blue, not reflecting light, but making their own light. This is real. It happens in many places around the world. The glow comes from tiny living things in the water called bioluminescent plankton. They are so small you cannot see them during the day, but at night, when something disturbs the water, they light up. A wave crashes and it glows. A fish swims by and it leaves a glowing trail. You put your hand in the water and blue light swirls around your fingers. This happens because of a chemical reaction inside the plankton. It is similar to the light that fireflies make. Why do they do this? Scientists think it might be to scare predators, or maybe to attract other creatures. The exact reason is still not completely clear, but the result is beautiful. In some places like Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico or certain beaches in the Maldives, the water glows so bright it looks like the ocean is filled with stars. People swim through glowing water. Boats leave glowing wakes behind them. It is like swimming through a galaxy. This is not magic. It is biology. It is chemistry. It is life creating light in the darkness. And it reminds us that even the ocean has secrets that glow. Fact 8. You are more microbe than human. You might think of yourself as one person, one body, but in reality, you are a community. You are a walking ecosystem. Inside your body and on your skin live trillions of tiny organisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microbes. In fact, there are more microbial cells in your body than human cells. For every one of your own cells, there are about 1.5 microbial cells. You are not just you. You are a whole world. These microbes live everywhere. On your skin, in your mouth, in your gut. The largest population is in your intestines. This community is called your microbiome. Every person's microbiome is different. It is like a fingerprint. What you eat, who you live with, and many other factors. So, the next time you feel alone, remember this. You are never truly alone. You carry with you trillions of tiny companions. They are part of you. They help keep you alive. You are not one being. You are many working together as one. Fact 9. Ants can build bridges out of their own bodies. In the rainforests of Central and South America, army ants march in enormous columns, millions of ants moving together. They are always searching for food. And when they come to a gap or obstacle, they do not stop. They build a bridge. The ants do not use wood or leaves. They use themselves. One ant grabs onto the edge with its legs. Another ant climbs onto the first ant's back. Then another and another. They link together, legs holding legs, bodies forming a living structure. Thousands of ants might link together to form a single bridge. The bridge is strong enough for other ants to walk across. And the bridge adjusts in real time. If more ants need to cross, the bridge widens. If the weight shifts, the bridge shifts too. When the colony has finished crossing, the bridge ants release each other and rejoin the march. There is no leader telling them what to do. Each ant follows simple rules. It responds to the ants around it. And from these simple rules, complex structures emerge. The ants teach us a lesson, that cooperation can create strength, that many small parts working together can become something much greater than any individual. Fact 10. Octopuses can change their own genetic instructions. Octopuses are strange creatures. They have 8 arms, they can change colour and texture in an instant, they can squeeze through impossibly small spaces, and they are incredibly intelligent. But there is something even stranger about them. Most animals are stuck with the genes they are born with. Your DNA is your DNA. It does not change. But octopuses can edit their RNA, which is like a working copy of the DNA instructions. This means they can adjust how their genes work without changing the genes themselves. They do this more than any other animal we know. Scientists believe octopuses use this ability to fine-tune their nervous systems. This might help them adapt quickly to cold water or changing conditions. It might be part of why they are so intelligent and adaptable. This is very unusual. Most animals do not do this because editing RNA can be risky. It might cause problems, but octopuses seem to have mastered it. In the deep ocean, the octopus drifts and changes. It is a creature of adaptation and mystery. Fact 11. Some animals can recognize themselves in mirrors. Most animals do not understand mirrors. A dog sees its reflection and thinks it is another dog. A bird sees its reflection and tries to fight it. But a few animals understand. They know the reflection is themselves. Scientists test this with a simple experiment. They put a mark on the animal's body in a place it cannot see without a mirror. Then, they show the animal a mirror. If the animal touches the mark or tries to look at it, this suggests it understands the reflection is its own body. So far, only a few animals have passed this test. Great apes like chimpanzees, orangutans and gorillas, dolphins and orcas. Elephants, some birds like magpies, and possibly manta rays and certain fish. This does not mean these animals think like humans, but it does suggest they have some sense of self. They can recognize their own bodies as separate from the world around them. This is a rare ability. Most creatures live entirely in the present moment without self-awareness. But these few species seem to have crossed a threshold. They seem to know, in some way, that they exist. It is a humbling reminder that intelligence and awareness come in many forms, that we are not as unique as we once thought. Fact 12. Life has survived 5 mass extinctions. Life on Earth is tough. Tougher than we usually realize. Over the last 500 million years, there have been 5 times when most life on Earth died. These are called mass extinctions. But life did not end. The survivors, just a small fraction of what existed before, carried on. They evolved, they adapted, they filled the empty spaces left behind. New species appeared. Ecosystems rebuilt themselves. After the Permian extinction, dinosaurs eventually rose to dominate the land. Then another mass extinction killed the dinosaurs 66 million years ago, probably from an asteroid impact. But again, life survived. Mammals, which had been small and hidden, began to thrive. They evolved into all the mammals we see today, including us. We are the descendants of survivors. Every creature alive today comes from a long line of ancestors that made it through disasters, ice ages, asteroid impacts, and climate shifts. Life is resilient, it bends but does not break. It suffers losses but continues. And even in the darkest times, something always survives to start again. Fact 13. Some fungi can control the minds of insects. Deep in tropical rainforests, a horror story plays out every day. But it is not fiction. It is nature. There is a fungus called Ophiocordyceps. It infects ants. The fungal spores land on an ant and burrow into its body. The fungus grows inside the ant, spreading through its tissues. And then something terrible happens. The fungus takes control. After the ant dies, the fungus keeps growing. A stalk sprouts from the back of the ant's head. At the tip of the stalk, a capsule forms. This capsule releases spores into the air. The spores drift down to the forest floor where other ants walk. And the cycle begins again. Scientists still do not fully understand how the fungus controls the ant's behavior. Instead, it seems to release chemicals that affect the ant's muscles and nervous system. This is not the only example. Other fungi infect other insects in similar ways. There are fungi that turn spiders into zombies, fungi that make flies climb upward before dying. It is a reminder that nature is not always gentle. It is also strange and sometimes frightening, and even the smallest organisms can wield incredible power. Fact 14. The colour blue is very rare in nature. Look around you. You see blue in the sky. You see blue in the ocean. You see blue on butterfly wings or bird feathers. Blue seems common, but it is not. True blue pigments are extremely rare in living things. Most plants and animals cannot make blue dye or paint. The answer is structure, not colour. Most blue things in nature are blue because of how they are shaped, not because they contain blue chemicals. A blue jay's feather is not actually blue. Under a microscope, you can see tiny structures that scatter light. These structures reflect blue wavelengths and absorb other colours. If you crush a blue jay feather, it turns brown because you destroy the structures. Butterfly wings work the same way. The scales on their wings have microscopic ridges and layers. These bend light in specific ways. The result looks blue to our eyes, but there is no blue pigment. Only a few creatures can actually make blue pigment. Some plants like bluebells and morning glories can do it, but it is difficult and rare. Fact 15. Elephants grieve for their dead. In the grasslands of Africa and the forests of Asia, elephants live in tight family groups. They remember each other. They care for each other. And when one of them dies, they mourn. Elephants have been seen standing over the body of a dead family member for hours or even days. They touch the body gently with their trunks. They rock back and forth. They make low rumbling sounds. Sometimes elephants return to the bones of dead elephants years later. They pick up the bones. They pass them around. They seem to examine them carefully. Scientists do not know exactly what elephants are thinking, but the behavior looks like memory and grief. Elephants also help injured or sick members of their group. They support them with their bodies. They bring them food and water. When a baby elephant dies, the mother may carry the body for days, not wanting to leave it behind. This shows us that elephants feel something deep. They form bonds. They remember. They experience loss. We cannot know if their grief is exactly like human grief, but it is clearly something powerful and real. In the animal kingdom, elephants stand out for their emotional depth. Their large brains and long lives allow them to hold memories across decades, and in their mourning, we see a reflection of our own hearts. Fact 16. Coral reefs are built by tiny animals. When you see a coral reef, you might think you are looking at colourful rocks or plants. But coral is neither. Coral is made of animals, millions and millions of tiny animals working together. Each coral polyp is a small creature related to jellyfish and sea anemones. It is soft-bodied with tentacles that it uses to catch tiny bits of food floating in the water. But the polyp also does something else. It builds a hard skeleton around itself made of calcium carbonate, the same material as chalk or limestone. Coral reefs are some of the most diverse ecosystems on Earth. Even though they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, they support about 1/4 of all marine species. Fish, crabs, octopuses, sea turtles, sharks, and countless other creatures depend on reefs. But coral reefs are fragile. They are sensitive to temperature changes and pollution. When water gets too warm, coral polyps expel the algae that live inside them. The algae give coral its colour and help provide food. Without the algae, the coral turns white. This is called coral bleaching. If the water stays warm too long, the coral dies. These tiny animals have built some of the greatest structures on Earth. But they need our help to survive. Fact 17. Slime molds can solve mazes without a brain. Imagine a creature with no brain, no eyes, no nervous system. It is just a blob of slime. And yet, it can solve complex problems. Slime molds are strange organisms. They are not plants, animals, or fungi, though they were once thought to be fungi. They live in damp places like rotting logs and forest floors. They look like patches of coloured slime, often yellow or orange. Scientists have done experiments with slime molds. They put a slime mold at the start of a maze with food at 2 exits. The slime mold spreads out through the maze, exploring every path. Then it pulls back, leaving only the shortest route between the start and the food. It has solved the maze. How does it do this without a brain? The slime mold uses chemical signals and feedback. As it spreads, it leaves a trail. It avoids areas where the trail is thick because that means it already explored there. It moves toward areas where the trail is thin or absent. Through this simple process, it finds efficient solutions. Intelligence does not always require a brain. Sometimes it emerges from simple rules and chemical reactions. The slime mold teaches us that smart solutions can come from unexpected places. Fact 18. The Amazon rainforest makes its own rain. The Amazon rainforest is one of the wettest places on Earth. During the day, the sun shines on the trees. The trees pull water up from the soil through their roots. The water travels up the trunk and into the leaves. Then the water evaporates from the leaves into the air. This process is called transpiration. Billions of trees release water vapor into the air every day. The air fills with moisture. The moisture rises and cools. It forms clouds. And then it rains. The rain falls back onto the forest. The trees absorb it and release it again. This means the Amazon does not just receive rain, it creates rain. The forest makes its own weather. When parts of the forest are cut down, this cycle weakens. Less water goes into the air. Fewer clouds form. Less rain falls. the remaining forest becomes drier. This can lead to droughts, fires, and more deforestation. Fact 19. Some frogs can freeze solid and survive. Winter can be deadly for small animals. When temperatures drop below freezing, ice forms in their bodies. Ice crystals damage cells, hearts stop, breathing stops. Most animals die, but some frogs have learned to survive being frozen solid. The wood frog lives in North America, including parts of Alaska and Canada where winters are harsh. When the cold comes, the frog does not try to hide deep underground where it is warmer. Instead, it lets itself freeze. Ice forms on its skin and spreads through its body. Its heart stops beating. Its blood stops flowing. It stops breathing. For all practical purposes, the frog appears dead. The frog can stay frozen like this for weeks or even months. When spring arrives and temperatures rise, the ice melts. Blood starts flowing again. The heart begins to beat. The frog wakes up, and it hops away as if nothing happened. This is one of the most extreme survival strategies in nature. It shows that life can pause and restart, that even death can be temporary if you have the right adaptations. Fact 20. Whales can sing songs that travel across oceans. Beneath the surface of the sea, in the deep blue darkness, whales are singing. Their songs are some of the loudest and longest sounds made by any animal. Blue whales and fin whales produce low-frequency calls that can travel for thousands of miles underwater. These sounds are so low that humans cannot hear them without special equipment. But in the ocean, sound travels far. The songs move through the water, bouncing off the seafloor and surface, spreading across entire ocean basins. Humpback whales create long, complex songs. A single song can last for 10 to 20 minutes. The whale repeats the song over and over, sometimes for hours. Each population of humpback whales has its own song, like a regional dialect, and the songs change over time. New phrases appear. Old phrases fade away. Scientists believe whales use these songs to communicate, to find mates, and to navigate. The songs may carry information about who the whale is, where it is, and what it wants. Fact 21. Seeds can wait thousands of years before sprouting. A seed looks dead. It does not move. It does not grow. It sits in the soil or on a shelf, small and silent. But inside that seed is the potential for life. And some seeds can wait a very long time before waking up. Seeds have protective coats that keep them safe from water, heat, cold, and bacteria. Inside, the seed is in a state of dormancy. Its metabolism is extremely slow, just barely ticking along. It waits for the right conditions. When the time is right, when there is enough water and warmth and light, the seed wakes up. It absorbs water. Its cells start dividing. A tiny root pushes out, then a shoot, and a new plant begins to grow. Some seeds can wait for decades before sprouting. Seeds found in old buildings or buried in the ground have germinated after 50 or 100 years. But the most amazing example is a date palm seed. Archaeologists found date palm seeds in an ancient fortress in Israel. The seeds were about 2,000 years old. They had been sitting in a jar since the time of the Roman Empire. Scientists decided to try planting one of the seeds. They did not expect it to work. But it did. The seed sprouted. It grew into a tree. That tree, named Methuselah, is still alive today. Fact 22. Bioluminescence evolved more than 40 times independently. Light is everywhere in nature. Sunlight from the sky, moonlight reflected off water, firelight from burning wood. But some creatures make their own light, and they did not learn it from each other. They each figured it out on their own. Bioluminescence is the ability to create light through chemical reactions. It has evolved independently at least 40 different times in different groups of organisms. This means that bacteria, fungi, jellyfish, worms, insects, fish and squid all invented bioluminescence separately. Why would so many different creatures evolve the same ability? Because light is useful in many ways. Some creatures use light to attract prey. The anglerfish has a glowing lure that dangles in front of its mouth. Small fish are drawn to the light and get eaten. Some use light to communicate. Fireflies flash patterns to find mates. Some use light as camouflage. Certain squid have lights on their undersides that match the light coming from above, making them invisible to predators below. The chemistry is elegant. An enzyme called luciferase reacts with a molecule called luciferin. The reaction releases energy in the form of light. There is no heat, no smoke, just a cold glow. Fact 23. Your bones are made from ancient stars. Everything in your body came from somewhere. But if you go back far enough, everything came from stars. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all of these elements were created inside stars. Stars are like giant furnaces. They burn hydrogen and turn it into helium. This releases energy and makes the star shine. Over millions of years, the star runs out of hydrogen. It starts burning helium and creates heavier elements like carbon and oxygen. Massive stars keep burning and create even heavier elements like iron, calcium, and gold. When a massive star reaches the end of its life, it explodes in a supernova. This explosion is so powerful that it creates the heaviest elements and scatters them into space. Eventually, gravity pulls these clouds together. They form new stars and planets. Our Sun formed this way about 4.6 billion years ago. Earth formed from the leftover dust and gas. You are made of stardust. This is not poetry. It is physics. It is the history written into every atom of your body. Fact 24. Some insects can see colours humans cannot. When you look at a flower, you see certain colours. Maybe red or yellow or purple. But to a bee, the same flower looks completely different. Bees and many other insects can see ultraviolet light. This is a type of light with wavelengths shorter than violet. Humans cannot see ultraviolet. Our eyes are not built for it. But for bees, ultraviolet is just another colour. Many flowers have patterns that only show up in ultraviolet light. To a bee, a plain-looking flower might have bright lines and circles pointing toward the centre where the nectar is. These patterns are like landing strips guiding the bee to the right spot. Other insects can see ultraviolet too. Butterflies use it to recognize each other. Some birds use ultraviolet vision to choose mates. Males might have ultraviolet patterns on their feathers that look dull to us, but brilliant to females of their species. Fact 25. Kangaroos can pause their pregnancies. In the dry landscapes of Australia, kangaroos have developed an unusual ability. They can control when their babies develop. They can put a pregnancy on hold. Female kangaroos can have 3 babies at different stages at the same time. And a third embryo might be waiting in the womb, paused and not developing. This pausing is called embryonic diapause. After a female kangaroo mates, the embryo begins to form. But if conditions are not right, if there is a drought or not enough food, or if the pouch is already occupied, the embryo stops developing. It stays in a suspended state. Waits. This gives kangaroos incredible flexibility. They can time their reproduction to match the environment. In harsh climates where rain is unpredictable, this adaptation helps ensure that babies are born when they have the best chance of survival. Nature has given kangaroos a pause button for pregnancy. It is one more example of how life finds creative solutions to difficult problems. Fact 26. Some fish can change from male to female or female to male. In the warm waters around coral reefs, something remarkable happens that would seem impossible to most land animals. Certain fish can change their biological sex. Clownfish live in small groups. Each group has one large female and one breeding male. The rest are smaller males. The female is the boss. She is the biggest and strongest. If she dies, something amazing happens. The breeding male begins to change. His body transforms. Over the course of weeks, he becomes female. His organs change. His behavior changes. And one of the smaller males becomes the new breeding male. Other fish do the opposite. Wrasses live in groups with one dominant male and many females. If the male dies or leaves, the largest female begins to change. She becomes male. Her colours change. Her body grows larger. She starts producing sperm instead of eggs. This ability helps these fish survive. In small isolated groups, losing the breeding male or female could mean the end of reproduction. But with the ability to change sex, the group can continue. Sex is not always fixed in nature. For these fish, identity and biology can shift with circumstance and need. It is one more way that life adapts to survive. Fact 27. Birds can sense Earth's magnetic field and use it like a compass. Every autumn, millions of birds fly south for the winter. Every spring, they fly back north. Some travel thousands of miles across oceans and continents, and somehow they know exactly where to go. Birds navigate using many tools. They use the position of the sun during the day. They use the stars at night. They remember landmarks like mountains and rivers. But they also use something invisible. They can sense the magnetic field of the Earth. Other research suggests birds might see the magnetic field. Special proteins in their eyes, called cryptochromes, might react to magnetic fields and create patterns of light that only the bird can see. The magnetic field might appear as shapes or colours overlaid on what the bird sees normally. However it works. The result is clear. Birds have an internal compass. They can feel which direction is north. They can sense their position on the planet. And this helps them migrate across vast distances without getting lost. Humans cannot sense magnetic fields without tools, but for birds, it is as natural as seeing or hearing. Fact 28. The carbon cycle is like the breathing of the whole planet. When you breathe out, you release carbon dioxide into the air. Plants take in that carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. They use the carbon to build their leaves, stems, and roots. When animals eat plants, the carbon moves into their bodies. When plants and animals die, decomposers break them down and release carbon back into the soil and air. Carbon also dissolves in the ocean. Tiny sea creatures use it to build shells. When they die, their shells sink to the bottom and eventually become rock. Volcanoes release carbon dioxide when they erupt. Burning wood or fossil fuels releases carbon that was stored long ago. This cycle has been going on for billions of years. It keeps carbon moving and recycling. It helps regulate the temperature of the planet. Too much carbon dioxide in the air traps heat and warms the climate. Too little, and the planet gets cold. Right now, humans are adding extra carbon to the air by burning coal, oil, and gas. This is disrupting the natural balance of the cycle. The planet is warming. Understanding the carbon cycle helps us see how everything is connected. Fact 29. Bacteria built some of the oldest structures on Earth. Long before there were forests or coral reefs or cities, bacteria were building structures, and some of those structures still exist today. Cyanobacteria grow in mats on the surface of these formations. The bacteria trap sediment and minerals from the water. Over time, layer upon layer builds up. The bacteria keep growing on top, adding more layers. Slowly, over hundreds and thousands of years, the structure grows. Fossilized stromatolites have been found that are over 3.5 billion years old. They are among the oldest evidence of life on Earth. These ancient bacteria were some of the first organisms to perform photosynthesis. They released oxygen into the atmosphere. Over millions of years, they changed the entire planet, making it possible for more complex life to evolve. Today, living stromatolites still exist in a few places like Shark Bay in Australia. They grow slowly and quietly, just as they have for billions of years. They are living links to the ancient past. Monuments built not by humans or animals but by microscopic life, working together across deep time. Fact 30. Dolphins seem to have names for each other. Dolphins are known for being intelligent and social. They live in groups. They hunt together. They play together. And they talk to each other using clicks and whistles. But scientists have discovered something even more surprising. Researchers have tested this by recording a dolphin's signature whistle and playing it back through underwater speakers. The dolphin whose whistle was played responds. It approaches the speaker or whistles back. Other dolphins ignore it. This shows that dolphins recognize their own whistles and respond to them like humans respond to hearing their names. Dolphins also seem to use these signature whistles to keep track of each other in murky water, or when the group is spread out. A mother might call to her calf. Friends might call to each other. This suggests that dolphins have a concept of individual identity. They know who they are and who others are. They can call for specific individuals, not just make general sounds. In the dark depths of the ocean, names travel through the water, connecting dolphins across distance. Fact 31. The Sahara Desert used to be green and full of life. Today, the Sahara is the largest hot desert in the world. It is a sea of sand and rock stretching across North Africa. The sun blazes down, rain almost never falls. Very few plants or animals can survive there. But it was not always this way. Thousands of years ago, the Sahara was green. These ancient cave paintings still exist. They show people swimming, boats on rivers, herds of cattle, and wild animals. The paintings are proof that the Sahara was once full of life. What happened? The Earth's orbit changed slightly. This changed the patterns of rainfall. The monsoons weakened. The rains stopped reaching the Sahara. The lakes dried up. The plants died. The animals left or went extinct. The desert returned. Beneath the sand today, scientists have found ancient lake beds, fossilized trees, and stone tools. The Sahara holds the memory of a wetter, greener past, and some scientists think it might become green again in the distant future when the Earth's orbit shifts once more. Fact 32. Bees can understand the concept of zero. Zero is a strange idea. It means nothing. The absence of something. For a long time, humans struggled with the concept of zero. Many ancient cultures did not have a symbol or word for it. But bees, with their tiny brains, seem to understand zero. Only a few animals have shown this ability. Primates like monkeys, some birds like parrots, and now bees. Understanding zero requires abstract thinking. It requires recognizing that nothing is a quantity, not just the absence of everything. Bees have brains smaller than a pinhead. They have less than 1 million neurons. Humans have about 86 billion neurons. Yet bees can do math that takes human children years to learn. This shows that intelligence is not just about brain size. It is about how the brain is organized and what problems the animal needs to solve. Bees need to count flowers, remember locations, and communicate complex information. Their brains evolved to handle these tasks efficiently. In the hive, in the garden, in the space between flowers, bees are thinking in ways we are only beginning to understand. Fact 33. Wolves can change entire ecosystems. In 1995, wolves were brought back to Yellowstone National Park in the United States. They had been gone for almost 70 years, hunted to extinction in the area. But when they returned, something extraordinary happened. The wolves changed everything. Before the wolves came back, deer populations had exploded. With no predators to fear, the deer ate constantly. They overgrazed the plants along rivers and streams. Young trees could not grow. The river banks eroded. The ecosystem was out of balance. This gave plants a chance to recover. Willows, aspens, and cottonwoods began to grow again along the rivers. Within a few years, the trees grew tall. Birds returned to nest in the branches. Beavers returned to cut down the trees and build dams. The dams created pools where fish and amphibians could live. The healthier vegetation stabilized the soil. Erosion decreased. The rivers themselves began to change course, becoming more stable and meandering. All of this happened because wolves returned. One species, doing what it naturally does, transformed an entire landscape. This is called a trophic cascade. It shows how everything in nature is connected. Remove one piece, and the whole system can collapse. Return that peace and balance can be restored. Fact 34. Flowers can hear bees coming. Plants seem silent and still. They do not have ears, they do not have nervous systems like animals. But some plants can sense sound, and they respond to it. How do they do it without ears? The petals themselves act as sensors. The shape of the flower acts like a dish that captures sound waves and vibrates. This vibration triggers a chemical response inside the plant. The plant increases the concentration of sugar in its nectar. Why would a flower do this? Because it benefits both the flower and the bee. The bee gets a better reward and is more likely to visit again. The flower gets pollinated. By responding to sound, the flower can offer its best nectar exactly when a pollinator is nearby, not wasting energy when no one is around. This means the garden is not silent. It is full of conversations. Bees hum, flowers listen, and both benefit from the exchange. Life communicates in more ways than we ever imagined. Fact 35. Lichens are two organisms living as one. Walk through a forest and you will see patches of colour on tree bark and rocks. Grey, green, orange, yellow. These are lichens. They look simple, but they hold a secret. This partnership is called symbiosis. Neither partner could survive alone in the places where lichens grow. Together, they thrive in some of the harshest environments on Earth. Lichens grow in deserts, on mountain tops, in the Arctic, and even in Antarctica. Lichens grow very slowly. Some are hundreds or even thousands of years old. They break down rock into soil, making it possible for other plants to grow. They provide food for animals like reindeer. Some lichens are used by humans to make dyes or medicines. The relationship between the fungus and alga is not always equal, but the result is a new form of life that is more than the sum of its parts. Two species, one body, surviving together where neither could survive alone. Fact 36. Tardigrades might outlive every other species on Earth. Tardigrades can survive being frozen at temperatures close to absolute zero, the coldest temperature possible. They can survive being heated to over 150 degrees Celsius, hot enough to boil water. They can survive pressure 6 times greater than the deepest part of the ocean. They can survive radiation levels that would kill almost any other animal. When conditions get bad, tardigrades enter a state called a ton. They curl up into a tiny ball. They push almost all the water out of their bodies. Their metabolism drops to nearly zero. They are not dead, but they are not really alive either. They are waiting. In this state, tardigrades can survive for decades. Maybe longer. When water returns, they rehydrate and wake up. Scientists believe tardigrades could survive most extinction events. Even if an asteroid hit Earth, or if a nearby star exploded, tardigrades deep in the soil or under the ocean might survive. They could outlast humans, outlast most other animals, and continue living long after we are gone. They are not the biggest or the fastest or the smartest. But in terms of survival, tardigrades are champions. Small, slow, and nearly eternal. Fact 37. Naked mole rats do not age the way other mammals do. Most animals age predictably. As they get older, their risk of dying increases, their bodies break down, they get weaker and sicker. But naked mole rats are different. As naked mole rats age, their risk of dying does not increase. A 5-year-old naked mole rat is just as likely to die as a 25-year-old one. They do not show the usual signs of aging. Their organs stay healthy. Their cells repair damage efficiently. They almost never get cancer. Most rodents live only a few years. Mice live about 2 years. Rats live about 3 years. But naked mole rats can live for over 30 years. That is 10 times longer than similar-sized rodents. Scientists study naked mole rats to understand why they age so slowly. They hope to learn secrets that could help humans live longer and healthier lives. Naked mole rats live in darkness, underground, in crowded colonies ruled by a single breeding queen. Their lives are strange, but they carry within them mysteries that might change how we understand aging and death. Fact 38. Your body is made of about 30 trillion cells. You feel like one person, one body, one mind. But if you could zoom in and see yourself at a microscopic level, you would see something incredible. You are made of trillions of tiny living units called cells. Scientists estimate the human body contains about 30 trillion cells. That is 30 followed by 12 zeros. It is a number so large it is hard to imagine. Every second, millions of cells in your body die, and millions of new cells are born to replace them. In about 7 to 10 years, most of the cells in your body will have been replaced. Yet somehow, you remain you. Your memories persist. Your personality continues. This is because information is stored not just in individual cells, but in patterns and connections, especially in your brain. You are not one thing. You are a community of trillions working together, a living symphony of cooperation, happening every moment beneath your skin. Fact 39. Some parrots are as smart as young children. Parrots are known for being able to mimic human speech. But they can do much more than repeat words. Some parrots can think, solve problems, and understand concepts. An African grey parrot named Alex became famous for his intelligence. Scientists worked with him for over 30 years. Alex learned to identify more than 50 objects. He could recognize 7 colors and 5 shapes. He could count up to 6. He understood concepts like bigger, smaller, same, and different. Alex was not just memorizing responses, he seemed to understand what the words meant. He could apply knowledge to new situations. When he was tired or did not want to do a task, he would say, "Want to go back, or I'm going to go away." He expressed wants and frustrations. Other parrots have shown similar abilities. Some can use tools. Some can solve puzzles that require multiple steps. Some can learn by watching other parrots. Parrot brains are structured very differently from mammal brains. Yet somehow, through a completely different evolutionary path, they arrived at similar cognitive abilities. Intelligence can evolve in many forms. Behind bright feathers and clever voices are minds that think, learn, and understand. Fact 40. The ocean holds more life than all the land combined. When we think of life on Earth, we often picture forests, jungles, grasslands, and mountains. But most of life exists somewhere else. It exists in the ocean. From the surface to the deepest trenches, life fills the ocean. Microscopic plankton drift in numbers beyond counting. Fish swim in schools of millions. Coral reefs teem with thousands of species. Whales migrate across entire ocean basins. Jellyfish pulse through the currents. Crabs scuttle along the seafloor. Worms burrow into the mud. Even a single drop of seawater contains thousands of living things. Bacteria, algae, tiny larvae, viruses, all invisible to the naked eye but essential to ocean ecosystems. We have explored only a small fraction of the ocean. Most of it remains unknown. The deep sea, below where sunlight reaches, is the largest habitat on Earth. It is cold, dark, and under enormous pressure. The ocean is not empty. It is the greatest wilderness on the planet. A living world of water, home to more species, more biomass, and more mysteries than anywhere on land. Fact 41. One of the oldest living things is a forest that is also a single organism. In the mountains of Utah grows a forest of quaking aspen trees. The trees look separate. Each has its own trunk and branches. But beneath the ground, they are all connected. All of the trees share the same root system. They are all genetically identical. They are all one organism. This organism is called pando, which means ice spread in Latin. It covers more than 100 acres. It weighs an estimated 6,000 tons, making it one of the heaviest living things on Earth. And it may be over 80,000 years old, making it one of the oldest. This means pando has survived ice ages, climate changes, fires, and droughts. Individual trunks come and go, but the organism persists. Walking through pando, you might think you are in an ordinary forest, but you are standing inside a single ancient being, one root system, holding thousands of trunks, one life spread across a mountainside, older than human civilization, older than written language, growing quietly through millennia. Fact 42. Some viruses actually help us. When we hear the word virus, we usually think of disease. Viruses cause colds, flu, and many serious illnesses. But not all viruses are harmful. Some are beneficial. Inside your body right now are viruses that attack harmful bacteria. These are called bacteriophages, which means bacteria eaters. They infect bacteria and destroy them. In your gut, bacteriophages help control the bacterial population and maintain balance. Viruses are not just enemies. They're also part of our history and part of our biology. Some scientists think viruses might have played a role in the origin of life itself, helping to move genetic information between early organisms. Viruses exist in a strange space between living and non-living. They are simple yet powerful, harmful yet sometimes helpful. Tiny threads woven into the fabric of life on Earth. Fact 43. sharks are older than trees. Sharks are often called living fossils, and for good reason. They are ancient beyond imagination. The first sharks appeared in the oceans about 450 million years ago. That was long before there were trees on land. Trees did not evolve until about 350 million years ago. This means sharks have been swimming in the oceans for 100 million years, longer than trees have been growing on land. Sharks were already ancient when dinosaurs appeared. They were swimming when the supercontinent Pangaea formed and when it broke apart. They survived all 5 mass extinctions, including the one that killed the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. Of course, sharks have evolved and diversified. There are over 500 species alive today, from the massive whale shark to the tiny dwarf lantern shark. But the fundamental shark shape has endured across vast stretches of time. When you see a shark, you are looking at a design, perfected long before humans, before mammals, before flowers. You are looking at deep time-made flesh, gliding through the water just as their ancestors did hundreds of millions of years ago. Fact 44. Rainforests create clouds that bring rain back to the forest. Rainforests are wet. Rain falls almost every day in places like the Amazon. Trees pull water from the soil through their roots. The water travels up through the trunk and into the leaves. Then the water evaporates from the leaves into the air. This is called transpiration. It is similar to sweating in animals. This creates a cycle. The forest makes rain. The rain falls on the forest. The trees absorb the water and release it again. The cycle continues. This means the rainforest is not just a place that receives rain. It is a place that makes rain. The forest shapes its own climate. When large areas of rainforest are cut down, this cycle is disrupted. Less water goes into the air, fewer clouds form, less rain falls. The remaining forest becomes drier. This can lead to droughts and more tree death, which makes the problem worse. The rainforest breathes moisture into the sky. It is both lung and cloud maker. Sustaining itself through the water it returns to the air. Fact 45. Some crabs wear living decorations for camouflage. In shallow ocean waters, there lives a clever little creature called the decorator crab. This crab has developed an unusual survival strategy. It disguises itself by attaching things to its shell. Decorator crabs have tiny hooked hairs on their shells and legs. They use these hooks to grab pieces of seaweed, sponges, algae, and other materials from their surroundings. They carefully place these items on their bodies, arranging them to cover as much of their shell as possible. Some decorator crabs go even further. They attach live sponges to their shells. The sponges continue to grow while attached to the crab. This provides excellent camouflage because the crab looks like part of the reef. Some sponges also release chemicals that taste bad or are mildly toxic, giving the crab extra protection from predators. This behavior requires a kind of awareness. The crab must somehow understand that covering itself helps it hide. It must select materials that match its environment. It must maintain its disguise over time. In the underwater world, survival sometimes means becoming invisible. And for the decorator crab, invisibility means wearing the ocean itself. Fact 46. Insects outnumber humans by an unimaginable amount. If you could count every human on Earth, you would reach about 8 billion. That is a large number. But insects outnumber us by so much that the comparison is almost meaningless. Scientists estimate there are about 10 quintillion individual insects alive at any given time. That is 10 followed by 18 zeros. For every single human, there are more than 1 billion insects. Insects live almost everywhere. They fly through the air, crawl on the ground, burrow in soil, swim in fresh water, and even live on the surface of the ocean. They exist in deserts, rainforests, grasslands, and cities. There are more than 1 million described species of insects, and scientists believe there may be millions more we have not discovered yet. Beetles alone account for about 1/4 of all known animal species. Insects perform essential roles in ecosystems. They pollinate plants, break down dead material, recycle nutrients, aerate soil, and serve as food for countless other animals. Without insects, most ecosystems would collapse. Humans may build cities and change landscapes, but in terms of sheer numbers and biomass, the world belongs to insects. They were here long before us, and they will likely be here long after. Fact 47. Birds of paradise perform elaborate dances to attract mates. In the rainforests of New Guinea and nearby islands live some of the most beautiful and unusual birds on Earth. They are called birds of paradise, and their courtship displays are like nothing else in nature. Male birds of paradise have evolved incredible plumage. Some have long trailing tail feathers. Some have iridescent feathers that shimmer with metallic colours. Some have elaborate crests or fans. But their appearance is only part of the display. Males perform complex dances to attract females. Each species has its own unique routine. Some hop rapidly from branch to branch. Some hang upside down and sway. Some spread their wings and feathers into geometric shapes. Some make clicking, buzzing, or whistling sounds to accompany their movements. One species transforms itself into what looks like a hovering UFO, with feathers spread in a perfect circle around its head. Another bounces up and down like a spring. Another creates an optical illusion by positioning itself against a background that makes its colours more vivid. Female birds watch from perches above. They are choosing mates based on the quality of the performance. This has created intense evolutionary pressure. Males with better displays have more offspring. Over millions of years, this has resulted in some of the most elaborate courtship behaviours in the animal kingdom. Behind every strange dance is the drive to survive through the next generation. Behind every shimmering feather is the story of choice and evolution. Fact 48. Spider silk is stronger than steel. In gardens, forests, and corners of buildings, spiders spin webs from silk they produce in their own bodies. This silk seems delicate. A human can walk through a spider web and barely feel it. But spider silk is one of the strongest materials in nature. Weight for weight, spider silk is stronger than steel. A strand of spider silk the same thickness as a steel wire can support more weight before breaking. Spider silk is also incredibly elastic. It can stretch to more than twice its original length without snapping. Different spiders produce different types of silk for different purposes. Some silk is sticky for catching prey. Some is smooth for building the frame of the web. Some is used to wrap eggs. Some is used as a safety line when the spider drops from a height. Scientists have tried to recreate spider silk in laboratories for use in medicine, industry, and materials science. It could be used for surgical sutures, artificial tendons, lightweight armor, or strong ropes. But so far, no one has been able to match the quality of natural spider silk. The spider spins its miracles in silence, producing from its own body a material stronger than steel, more flexible than rubber, and thinner than a human hair. Fact 49. Fireflies use light to communicate in a language of flashes. On warm summer nights in many parts of the world, the darkness comes alive with tiny flashing lights. These are fireflies, also called lightning bugs. They are not flies at all, but a type of beetle. Fireflies create light through a chemical reaction in their abdomens. They mix a substance called luciferin with oxygen and an enzyme called luciferase. The reaction produces light with almost no heat. It is one of the most efficient light sources in nature, with nearly 100% of the energy converted to light rather than heat. Each species of firefly has its own pattern of flashes. Some flash quickly, some flash slowly, some flash in groups that synchronize together. These patterns are a language. Males fly through the air, flashing specific codes. Females sit in grass or on leaves and watch. When a female sees a male of her own species flashing the right pattern, she responds with her own flash. The male sees her response and flies toward her. If the patterns match correctly, they mate. This visual conversation happens silently in the dark, each flash a word, each pattern a sentence. Some fireflies even use deception. Females of certain species can mimic the flash patterns of other species. When a male of the other species approaches expecting a mate, the deceptive female eats him. In the summer darkness, fireflies write messages in light. Brief, beautiful, and fleeting, they glow and vanish, speaking to each other in a language older than words. Fact 50. Some monkeys use plants as medicine when they are sick. For a long time, people thought only humans used medicine. But we have learned that some animals do it too. Monkeys and apes, in particular, seem to know which plants can help them when they are ill. Chimpanzees have been observed eating certain leaves they normally avoid. These leaves are rough and bitter. The chimps swallow them whole without chewing. Scientists discovered that these leaves help expel intestinal parasites. The rough texture of the leaves irritates the digestive system and helps push out worms. Other primates chew the bitter pith of certain plants when they have stomach problems. These plants contain compounds with antibacterial or antiparasitic properties. The animals seem to seek out these plants specifically when they feel unwell. This challenges the idea that medicine is uniquely human. Animals do not have doctors or pharmacies, but some have learned through evolution and experience which plants can help them heal. In the forest, there is a hidden pharmacy, and some animals already know how to use it. They diagnose themselves, seek out remedies, and treat their own ailments with the tools nature provides. Fact 51. Algae produce most of the oxygen you breathe. When you take a breath, you might thank the trees. Trees do produce oxygen through photosynthesis. But most of the oxygen in the air does not come from forests. It comes from the ocean. Tiny organisms called phytoplankton float near the surface of the sea. They are so small you cannot see them without a microscope. They are a type of algae, and they perform photosynthesis just like plants on land. Phytoplankton absorbs sunlight and carbon dioxide. Because there are trillions upon trillions of these microscopic organisms spread across the vast oceans, scientists estimate that phytoplankton create between 50 and 80% of all the oxygen in Earth's atmosphere. That means more than half of every breath you take comes from the ocean, not from trees. These microscopic organisms are invisible from shore. You cannot see them when you look at the ocean. But they are there, floating in numbers beyond counting, making the air breathable and feeding the sea. Every breath connects you to the ocean. Every inhale is a gift from creatures smaller than a grain of sand. Fact 52. Crows can plan for the future. Crows are remarkably intelligent birds. They have large brains for their body size. They can recognize human faces and remember them for years. They can use tools. And they seem to be able to think about the future. In experiments, crows have been given a choice. They can have a small piece of food right now, or they can wait and get a better piece of food later. Many animals would just take the immediate reward. But crows often choose to wait for the better reward. This suggests they can plan ahead. Crows also save tools for later use. In one study, crows learned that a particular tool could be used to get food from a box. When given the tool, some crows did not use it immediately. Instead, they kept it in a safe place. The next day, when shown the box again, the crows retrieved the tool they had saved and used it to get the food. This kind of behavior suggests crows think about the future. They imagine what they might need later and prepare for it. Crows also hold grudges. If a person harms or frightens a crow, that crow will remember the person's face. It will scold and dive at that person for years afterward. It may even teach other crows to recognize and avoid that person. Fact 53. Some snakes can see heat. Snakes rely heavily on their senses to hunt. Many hunt at night, when it is too dark to see with normal vision. But certain snakes have developed a way to see in total darkness. They can see heat. Pit vipers, pythons, and boas have special organs on their faces called pit organs. These are small openings between the eyes and nostrils. Inside these pits are heat-sensitive membranes that can detect infrared radiation, which is the heat given off by warm-blooded animals. When a mouse or bird is nearby, even in complete darkness, the snake can sense the warmth of its body. The image the snake perceives is not like normal vision. It is more like a heat map. Warm objects appear bright against a cooler background. This gives these snakes a huge advantage when hunting at night. They do not need light. They can strike with precision at prey. They cannot see with their eyes but can sense with their pits. This is another reminder that different animals experience reality in different ways. What we call darkness is not dark to a pit viper. It is filled with glowing shapes of warmth, signatures of life moving through the night. Fact 54. The Arctic tundra explodes with life during summer. For most of the year, the Arctic tundra is frozen, harsh, and seemingly lifeless. Snow and ice cover the ground. Temperatures drop far below freezing. The sun disappears for months during winter. It is one of the most extreme environments on Earth. But when summer arrives, everything changes. The transformation happens quickly. In some places, the transition from winter to summer takes only a few weeks. As the sun returns and stays in the sky almost 24 hours a day, the ice melts, the ground thaws, water from melting snow creates ponds and streams, and suddenly life erupts. Grasses and wildflowers grow rapidly. Mosses and lichens that lay dormant through winter begin photosynthesizing. Insects hatch in enormous numbers. Birds migrate from thousands of miles away to nest and raise their young. Caribou and other mammals move across the tundra to feed on the fresh vegetation. The tundra shows us that even the harshest places can support life, but that life must be flexible, quick, and tough. It must seize the brief window of opportunity and make the most of it. In the far north, summer is not a season of leisure. It is a race against time, a short burst of growth and activity before the cold returns and silence falls once more. Fact 55. A fungus can turn ants into zombies. This story sounds like horror fiction, but it is real. In tropical rainforests around the world, a parasitic fungus called Ophiocordyceps infects ants and takes over their behavior. The fungus starts as a spore that lands on an ant. The spore burrows through the ant's exoskeleton and begins growing inside its body. The fungus spreads through the ant's tissues, feeding on its insides but carefully avoiding vital organs at first to keep the ant alive. After about a week, the fungus reaches the ant's brain. It does not destroy the brain but releases chemicals that affect the ant's nervous system. The ant's behavior changes dramatically, but the fungus is not finished. After the ant dies, the fungus continues growing. A stalk erupts from the back of the ant's head. At the end of the stalk, a capsule forms filled with spores. When the capsule matures, it releases the spores. They drift down to the forest floor where other ants are foraging. Scientists still do not fully understand how the fungus controls the ant's behavior so precisely. In the quiet shadows of the rainforest, this grim cycle continues, a reminder that nature includes both beauty and horror, cooperation and control. Fact 56. Sea cucumbers can turn their bodies into liquid. On the ocean floor lives a creature that looks unremarkable. The sea cucumber resembles a soft, lumpy sausage lying in the sand. It moves slowly. It seems simple, but it has an extraordinary ability. Sea cucumbers can change the stiffness of their bodies at will. When they need to be firm, they can make their skin and connective tissue rigid. When they need to squeeze through a tight space or escape danger, they can make their body nearly liquid. This happens because sea cucumbers can control the structure of proteins in their connective tissue. This ability helps sea cucumbers hide in crevices, escape from predators, and move through complex environments. It is like having a skeleton made of controllable jelly. Some sea cucumbers have another bizarre defense mechanism. When attacked, they can expel some of their internal organs through their rear end. These organs are sticky and can entangle or distract predators. The sea cucumber then escapes and later regenerates the lost organs. In the slow rhythm of the seafloor, the sea cucumber glides and flows, solid one moment and nearly liquid the next. Fact 57. Icefish have antifreeze in their blood. In the frigid waters around Antarctica, most fish would freeze solid. The water temperature stays below 0 degrees Celsius, cold enough to form ice. But a group of fish called icefish live there comfortably. Icefish have evolved a remarkable adaptation. Their blood contains special proteins called antifreeze. Glycoproteins. These proteins bind to tiny ice crystals that form in the blood. They prevent the crystals from growing larger. This stops ice from spreading through the fish's body. Icefish have other unusual features too. They lack red blood cells and hemoglobin, the protein that normally carries oxygen in blood. Their blood is pale, almost clear. Instead of using hemoglobin, oxygen dissolves directly into their blood plasma. They can do this because cold water holds more dissolved oxygen than warm water, and their blood volume is much larger than in other fish. Icefish move slowly through the icy water. Their metabolism is adapted to the cold. They cannot survive in warmer water because their bodies are too specialized for extreme cold. Under Antarctic ice, where few other vertebrates can survive, the icefish drifts, pale and cold-blooded, perfectly suited to a frozen world. Fact 58. Termites build mounds with natural air conditioning. In Africa, Australia, and other warm regions, termite mounds rise from the ground like towers. Some reach heights of over 30 feet. From the outside, they look like simple dirt structures, but inside is a marvel of engineering. Millions of termites live inside each mound in a complex network of chambers and tunnels. Surrounding it are nurseries for larvae, fungus gardens where the termites grow food, and storage areas. The most impressive feature is the ventilation system. Termites need to keep the temperature and humidity inside the mound stable. Too hot or too cold, and the colony dies. Too dry, and the fungus gardens fail. The termites build vertical chimneys and tunnels throughout the mound. As air inside, the colony warms from the heat of millions of termite bodies and decomposing material. It rises. The warm air flows up through the chimneys and exits through vents at the top of the mound. This creates low pressure that draws cooler air in from the bottom. The termites do not consciously design this system. They follow simple rules. Each termite responds to local conditions. If an area is too hot, termites bring moisture. If airflow is blocked, termites dig new tunnels. From these simple behaviors, complex functional architecture emerges. Humans have studied termite mounds to design more energy-efficient buildings. Nature solved the problem of climate control millions of years before we did. Fact 59. Some lizards can squirt blood from their eyes. In the deserts of North America lives a small lizard with a startling defense mechanism. The horned lizard, also called a horny toad, can shoot blood from its eyes. When threatened by a predator, especially canines like coyotes or dogs, the horned lizard has several defenses. First, it puffs up its body to appear larger and more difficult to swallow. Its spiny scales make it painful to bite. But if these defenses fail, the lizard uses its most dramatic trick. It increases blood pressure in its head by restricting certain blood vessels. The pressure builds until small vessels near the corners of its eyes rupture. A thin stream of blood shoots out, sometimes traveling several feet. This defense does not harm the lizard permanently. The ruptured vessels heal quickly. The lizard can produce more blood. It is a small price to pay for survival. The horned lizard reminds us that evolution creates solutions we would never imagine. When faced with danger, sometimes the answer is not to run or hide, but to do something so unexpected that the predator simply gives up. Fact 60. Life first appeared in the deep ocean. The story of life on Earth began in darkness. Long before there were forests or grasslands or even algae in shallow water, the first living things appeared in the deep ocean. About 4 billion years ago, Earth was a very different place. The atmosphere had no oxygen. The surface was bombarded by radiation and meteorites. Conditions were harsh and unstable. But deep underwater, near volcanic vents on the ocean floor, conditions were more stable. Hot water, rich in minerals, poured out of cracks in the Earth's crust. Around these hydrothermal vents, the first simple organisms appeared. These early life forms were single cells without nuclei. They did not use sunlight for energy because sunlight could not reach the deep ocean. Instead, they used chemical energy from the minerals in the hot water. This process is called chemosynthesis. Even today, hydrothermal vents support unique ecosystems. Strange creatures like giant tube worms, eyeless shrimp, and heat-loving bacteria live there, independent of sunlight. These ecosystems may resemble what early Earth looked like. Some scientists think similar vents might exist on other ocean worlds in our solar system, like Jupiter's moon Europa or Saturn's moon Enceladus. If so, life might have started there the same way it started here, born in darkness, warmed by heat from below. Fact 61. Starfish can regrow lost arms and sometimes entire bodies. Along rocky shores and tide pools, starfish cling to rocks and move slowly across the seafloor. They seem simple and fragile, but they have an incredible ability to heal and regenerate. If a starfish loses an arm to a predator or accident, it can grow the arm back. Some species can regenerate even more. If a starfish is cut in half and each half includes part of the central disc where vital organs are located, both halves can regenerate into complete starfish. One animal becomes two. A few species can regenerate an entire body from a single severed arm, as long as a portion of the central disc is attached. This means that in the right conditions, a single starfish could theoretically become several. This regeneration is possible because starfish have distributed nervous systems and no centralized brain. They also have populations of stem cells throughout their bodies that can develop into different types of tissue. For now, the starfish drifts along the ocean floor, slowly and silently. If damaged, it simply grows back, piece by piece, until it is whole again. Fact 62. The platypus is one of the strangest mammals on Earth. When European scientists first saw a preserved platypus specimen in the late 1700s, many thought it was a hoax. It looked like someone had stitched parts of different animals together. But the platypus is real, and it is genuinely bizarre. The platypus has the bill of a duck, the tail of a beaver, and the feet of an otter. It has fur like a mammal, but unlike most mammals, it lays eggs like a reptile or bird. The platypus is one of only 5 species of monotremes, mammals that lay eggs instead of giving birth to live young. Female platypuses do not have nipples. Instead, they secrete milk through pores in their skin. The babies lap up the milk from their mother's fur. The platypus hunts underwater, with its eyes, ears, and nostrils closed. These sensors detect the tiny electrical signals produced by muscle contractions in prey animals. The platypus can sense a shrimp moving in the mud, even in total darkness. Every feature of the platypus seems improbable. It is a living reminder that evolution does not follow a single path. It experiments. It combines traits in unexpected ways. And sometimes the result is something wonderfully strange. Fact 63. Bats navigate using echoes like natural sonar. When night falls and the world goes dark, bats emerge from caves and trees. They fly through complete darkness with astonishing precision. They can catch tiny flying insects in midair. They can navigate through dense forests without hitting branches. They do this without relying on sight. Bats use a technique called echolocation. They produce high-frequency sounds, often too high for humans to hear. These sounds travel through the air and bounce off objects. The bat listens to the echoes that return. From these echoes, a bat can determine how far away an object is, how big it is, what shape it has, and even what texture it has. A bat can tell the difference between a moth and a leaf, between a branch and a wire, all from sound. Different bat species produce different types of calls. Some produce short clicks, some produce longer sweeps of sound. The frequency and pattern depend on the environment and hunting strategy. Not all bats use echolocation. Fruit bats, for example, rely more on vision and smell. But for the bats that do echolocate, sound becomes sight. Darkness becomes transparent, and the night becomes a world full of shape and movement, revealed through echoes. Fact 64. Venus flytraps count touches before closing. In the wet, acidic soils of North and South Carolina grows one of the most famous carnivorous plants, the Venus flytrap. Its leaves form traps that look like open jaws lined with spiky teeth. Inside each trap are tiny trigger hairs. When an insect lands on the trap and touches a trigger hair, nothing happens. This prevents the trap from closing on raindrops or windblown debris, which would waste the plant's energy. But if the insect touches a second trigger hair within about 20 seconds, or touches the same hair twice, the trap snaps shut in less than 1/10 of a second. This is one of the fastest movements in the plant kingdom. The Venus flytrap is counting. It uses electrical signals similar to nerve impulses in animals. The first touch creates an electrical charge. If a second touch happens quickly enough, the charges add up and reach a threshold that triggers the trap to close. Once closed, the trap does not open immediately. The plant waits. If the trapped object is too small or not nutritious, the trap will reopen after a day or two. But if the trap senses continued movement inside, indicating live prey, it seals tightly and begins producing digestive enzymes. Over the next week or more, the plant digests the insect, absorbing nutrients. Then the trap opens again, ready for its next meal. Fact 65. Penguins propose with pebbles. In the harsh environment of Antarctica, penguins face many challenges. One of them is building a nest. The ground is mostly rock and ice with little soft material available. So penguins use what they can find, which is usually pebbles. For Gentoo and Adelie penguins, pebbles are precious. A good pebble is smooth, the right size, and can help build a stable nest that keeps eggs off the cold ground and away from melting snow. When it is time to mate, a male penguin searches for the perfect pebble. He picks it up in his beak and approaches a female he is interested in. He bows and presents the pebble to her. If she accepts the pebble, she takes it and places it in her nest. The pair then works together to build their nest, collecting more pebbles. Sometimes penguins steal pebbles from neighbouring nests when the residents are not watching. Pebbles are so valuable that theft is common. In the frozen landscape of Antarctica, love takes the form of a small stone offered and accepted. A partnership begins with a gift, a gesture, and the promise of working together to protect the next generation. Fact 66. Some birds sleep while flying. For birds that spend days or weeks in flight over open ocean, sleep presents a problem. Some birds have evolved a remarkable solution. They sleep while flying, but they do not sleep the way land animals do. Instead, they use unihemispheric sleep, which means one half of the brain sleeps while the other half stays awake. Frigate birds, for example, can stay in the air for weeks. Studies have shown that while flying over the ocean, they sleep in short bursts, usually only a few seconds or minutes at a time. During these brief sleep periods, one half of the brain shows sleep waves while the other half remains active enough to control flight and avoid obstacles. Alpine swifts show similar patterns. They can fly continuously for months during migration, sleeping on the wing. This split brain sleep is not unique to birds. Dolphins and some other marine mammals also do it, allowing them to breathe consciously while sleeping. For these birds, rest and motion are not opposites. They can do both at once, gliding through the air while half their mind dreams and the other half watches the sky. Fact 67. Your brain runs on electricity. Inside your skull, something remarkable is happening right now. Your brain is producing electricity. Every thought, every memory, every sensation begins as an electrical signal. Your brain contains about 86 billion nerve cells called neurons. Each neuron can connect to thousands of other neurons. Together, they form a network of staggering complexity. This process happens billions of times per second throughout your brain. The result is patterns of electrical activity that correspond to thoughts, feelings, memories, and actions. Scientists can measure this electrical activity using devices that detect the tiny voltages on the scalp. This technique is called electroencephalography, or EEG. The patterns of brain waves change depending on whether you are awake, asleep, focused, or relaxed. Your brain uses about 20 watts of power, similar to a dim light bulb, but this small amount of energy produces consciousness, creativity, emotion, and everything that makes you who you are. You are powered not by batteries or wires, but by electrochemical signals flowing through living tissue. Thought is electricity, given form and meaning. Fact 68. Cuttlefish can change colour instantly despite being colourblind. Cuttlefish are masters of disguise. They can change the colour, pattern, and texture of their skin in less than a second. They can blend perfectly with sand, rocks, coral, or seaweed. They can create stripes, spots, or waves of colour that ripple across their bodies. But here is the strange part. Cuttlefish are colourblind. They cannot see colour the way we do. Their eyes detect only brightness and contrast, not different wavelengths of colour. So how do they match their surroundings so perfectly? Scientists are still not entirely sure. One theory is that cuttlefish use brightness, patterns, and texture rather than colour itself. Another theory suggests they might detect colour in an unusual way, perhaps through skin receptors or by analysing how light scatters. They also use their colour-changing ability to communicate. Males can display bold patterns to attract females, or warn rivals. When hunting, they can create hypnotic moving patterns that seem to mesmerise their prey. One creature, countless disguises, all controlled by a brain that sees the world in shades of grey. The cuttlefish paints itself in colours it cannot see. Fact 69. The moon controls when corals spawn. Once a year, on certain nights, something magical happens on coral reefs around the world. All at once, in a synchronized release, corals spawn. They release millions of eggs and sperm into the water. The ocean becomes a snowstorm of new life. This event happens with remarkable precision. Corals of the same species spawn at the same time, often within the same hour. This synchronization is crucial because coral eggs and sperm need to meet in the open water to fertilize. If individuals spawn at different times, reproduction fails. But how do corals, which have no eyes and no brains, know when to spawn? They use the moon. For a brief window, the water is filled with floating eggs and sperm. Fish and other animals feast on this sudden abundance. Some eggs survive and fertilize. The fertilized eggs drift with the currents. Eventually, they settle on a suitable surface and begin growing into new coral polyps. The moon pulls the tides, it lights the night, and it tells corals when to create the next generation. Even in the ocean's depths, life dances to the rhythm of celestial bodies. Fact 70. Frogs use their eyes to help swallow food. Frogs are opportunistic eaters. When they catch prey, they do not chew it. Instead, they swallow it whole. But swallowing can be difficult, especially with large prey. So frogs have developed an unusual solution. When a frog swallows, it blinks. But this is not an ordinary blink. The frog pulls its eyes down into its skull. The eyeballs press against the roof of the mouth, pushing the food toward the throat. You can sometimes see this happen. A frog catches a cricket or worm with its sticky tongue. It pulls the prey into its mouth. Then it blinks several times, each time pressing its eyes inward. With each blink, the food moves farther down the throat until it is swallowed. This is a clever use of existing anatomy. The frog's eyes serve two purposes: seeing and swallowing. Evolution adapted what was available rather than creating something entirely new. In ponds and streams, in forests and gardens, frogs eat and blink, blink and swallow. A simple solution to a practical problem, written into biology through millions of years. Fact 71. Plants can send warnings through the air to other plants. Plants seem passive and isolated, each one rooted in its spot, unable to move or communicate. But plants are not as isolated as they appear. When a plant is attacked, perhaps by insects eating its leaves, it responds by producing defensive chemicals. Some of these chemicals make the leaves taste bad or become toxic. This discourages the insects from continuing to eat. But the plant also releases volatile organic compounds into the air. These are chemicals that evaporate easily and drift on the wind. Nearby plants detect these airborne chemicals through receptors on their leaves. When neighbouring plants sense these warning signals, they respond by activating their own defences before they are attacked. They produce bitter compounds, thicken their leaves, or release their own deterrent chemicals. They prepare for danger even though they have not yet been touched. Some plants can even send different signals depending on what is attacking them. A plant being eaten by caterpillars might release different chemicals than a plant infected by fungus. Nearby, plants can detect these differences and prepare appropriate defences. The garden is not quiet. It is full of conversations carried on the breeze, messages of danger passing from leaf to leaf, a network of chemical signals weaving through the air. Fact 72. Some trees can clone themselves for thousands of years. In high mountain areas where conditions are harsh, some trees have adopted an unusual survival strategy. Instead of reproducing through seeds, they clone themselves. Quaking aspens are particularly good at this. A single aspen tree sends out roots underground. These roots can travel long distances. At various points, the roots send up new shoots that grow into new tree trunks. These trunks might look like separate trees, but genetically, they are all the same individual. They all share the same root system. Cut down one trunk, and the roots send up another to replace it. This allows the tree to survive fires, droughts, disease, and other disasters. Even if every trunk is destroyed, the roots can remain alive, underground, and send up new growth when conditions improve. One clonal colony in Utah called Pando has been spreading this way for potentially 80,000 years or more. It covers over 100 acres and contains thousands of individual trunks. But it is all one organism, one connected root system, one genetic individual. Walking through Pando, you are not in a forest. You are inside a single ancient being that has lived longer than human civilization, longer than written language, older than the pyramids, still growing, still reaching toward the light. Fact 73. Earthworms are essential soil builders. Beneath every forest, field, and garden, earthworms are working. They seem simple, without eyes or ears or limbs, but they play a crucial role in creating and maintaining healthy soil. As earthworms burrow, they create tunnels. These tunnels allow air to enter the soil and water to drain. This prevents soil from becoming compacted and helps plant roots grow more easily. Earthworms eat organic matter like dead leaves, dead roots, and other decaying material. They digest this material and excrete it as castings. These castings are rich in nutrients and beneficial microbes. They improve soil fertility. Charles Darwin spent years studying earthworms. He calculated that in some areas, earthworms can move more than 10 tons of soil per acre per year. He concluded that earthworms have played a major role in shaping the Earth's surface. Without earthworms and similar organisms, dead material would pile up on the surface, nutrients would remain locked in dead matter, soil would become hard and lifeless, plants would struggle to grow. Earthworms are quiet, blind, and hidden. But they are among the most important organisms on land, architects of the ground beneath our feet, building the foundation for almost all terrestrial life. Fact 74. Giraffes sleep very little. Giraffes are the tallest land animals. Their long necks allow them to reach leaves high in trees that other animals cannot access. When giraffes do lie down to sleep, they are vulnerable. Getting up from a lying position is slow and awkward for such a large, tall animal. Predators like lions could attack before the giraffe could stand and run, so giraffes often sleep standing up, entering a light doze with their eyes half open. Occasionally, they lie down for deeper sleep, usually for only 5 or 10 minutes. When lying down, they often rest their heads on their own hindquarters, curling their long necks back like a bow. Even with so little sleep, giraffes function normally. They remain alert and active. Scientists are still studying how they manage with such minimal rest. There may be something about their brain structure or metabolism that reduces their need for sleep. In the African savanna, while lions and hyenas sleep for many hours, the giraffe stands tall, awake, and watching. Sleep is a luxury it can rarely afford. Fact 75. Some microbes can eat plastic, but life is adaptable. In recent decades, scientists have discovered bacteria and fungi that can break down certain types of plastic. In 2016, researchers in Japan discovered a bacterium living in a recycling facility that could digest PET, the plastic used in many bottles and packaging. The bacterium produces enzymes that break the chemical bonds in the plastic, converting it into simpler molecules the bacterium can absorb as food. Other microbes have been found that can digest polyethylene and polystyrene, two other common plastics. Some of these microbes were found in landfills, others in the guts of insects that eat plastic. These microbes evolved the ability to digest plastic in just a few decades, a blink of an eye in evolutionary time. Fact 76. Arctic foxes change their fur colour with the seasons. In the far north, where winter brings months of snow and ice, survival depends on not being seen. The Arctic fox has mastered the art of seasonal camouflage through a remarkable transformation. During winter, the Arctic fox grows a thick coat of pure white fur. This white coat blends perfectly with snow and ice, making the fox nearly invisible to both prey and predators. The white fur also provides excellent insulation against temperatures that can drop to -50 degrees Celsius. This colour change happens twice a year, timed perfectly with the seasons. It is triggered by changes in daylight length. As days grow shorter in autumn, hormones signal the fox's body to grow white fur. As days grow longer in spring, the signal reverses. The Arctic fox also grows fur on the bottom of its paws, providing grip on ice and insulation from frozen ground. Its small ears and short muzzle reduce heat loss in the extreme cold. Season by season, the Arctic fox transforms, wearing the landscape itself as protection. White in winter, brown in summer, always hidden, always adapted. Fact 77. The deep sea is full of creatures that seem alien. Below the sunlit surface of the ocean lies a realm that seems like another planet. The pressure is crushing. The temperature hovers just above freezing. Yet this is one of the largest habitats on Earth, and it teems with bizarre life. Deep-sea fish have evolved strange features. Some have enormous mouths and expandable stomachs, allowing them to swallow prey larger than themselves. Food is scarce in the deep sea, so when a meal appears, these fish must take advantage. Many deep-sea creatures produce their own light through bioluminescence. The anglerfish dangles a glowing lure in front of its mouth, attracting smaller fish into striking range. Other fish have rows of lights along their bodies for camouflage or communication. Giant species are common in the deep sea. Giant squid, giant isopods, and enormous jellyfish drift through the darkness. Scientists call this phenomenon deep-sea gigantism, though the reasons for it are still debated. We have explored less than 5% of the deep ocean. Every expedition discovers new species. The deep sea is Earth's final frontier, vast, dark, and filled with life forms that challenge our understanding of what is possible. Fact 78. Some birds use tools to hunt. Tool use was once considered uniquely human. Then scientists discovered that great apes use tools. But the ability extends beyond primates. Several bird species have independently evolved tool use, showing remarkable intelligence and problem-solving abilities. New Caledonian crows are master tool users. They craft hooks from twigs and leaves to extract insects from crevices. They choose materials carefully, modify them to improve function, and save tools for later use. Young crows learn these skills by watching adults, passing knowledge across generations. Green herons fish with bait. They drop small objects like insects, feathers, or twigs onto the water's surface. When fish come to investigate, the heron strikes. Some individuals have learned to steal bread from humans and use it as bait, showing flexibility in their approach. Egyptian vultures break open ostrich eggs by throwing rocks at them. The eggs are too thick to crack with their beaks alone, so they use stones as hammers. They carefully select rocks of the right size and weight. These behaviors are not instinctive. Young birds must learn them, practice them, and improve over time. Tool use requires planning, understanding, cause and effect, and imagining future outcomes. Birds may not have hands, but some have learned that objects can become instruments, extending their capabilities beyond what evolution gave them. Fact 79. Camels can survive extreme dehydration. In the scorching deserts of Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, camels endure conditions that would kill most mammals. They are supremely adapted to life, where water is scarce and temperatures are extreme. Camels can survive without drinking water for up to 2 weeks during hot weather, and even longer during cooler periods. When they do find water, they can drink over 100 litres in just 10 minutes, rehydrating rapidly. Contrary to popular belief, camels do not store water in their humps. When metabolized, fat produces water as a byproduct, providing some hydration. Camels conserve water through several adaptations. Their kidneys are extremely efficient, producing very concentrated urine. Their feces are dry. They do not sweat until their body temperature reaches 40 degrees Celsius, much higher than most mammals would tolerate. Their body temperature fluctuates throughout the day, rising during heat and falling at night. This reduces the need for cooling through sweating. Their thick fur insulates them from the sun's heat while trapping cooler air near their skin. In the harshest deserts, where water is precious and survival is difficult, the camel endures. Patient, efficient, and perfectly suited to scarcity. Fact 80. Baby chicks communicate with their mothers before hatching. Life inside an egg seems isolated and silent. But before a chick breaks free from its shell, communication has already begun between mother and offspring. Several days before hatching, chick embryos begin making soft chirping sounds from inside the egg. The mother hen responds to these chirps by clucking softly and adjusting her position over the eggs. This communication serves several purposes. The chirps from unhatched chicks help synchronize hatching times among siblings. When one chick starts calling, others respond, and their development speeds up or slows down slightly to match. This means most chicks hatch within a short window, which helps the mother care for them more effectively. Research shows that embryos respond to different sounds. They become more active when they hear their mother's calls. They also respond to alarm calls, suggesting they can learn about danger before hatching. The eggshell is not a barrier to connection. It is semi-permeable to sound and meaning. Before the first crack appears, before the first glimpse of light, a chick already knows it is not alone. It has been listening, calling, connecting. Fact 81. Some insects can survive being completely frozen. Winter brings death to many insects. Cold temperatures slow their metabolism. Ice forms in their bodies. Most freeze and die. But some insects have evolved to survive complete freezing, entering a state of suspended animation until warmth returns. The woolly bear caterpillar of the Arctic can survive being frozen solid for most of the year. It lives in regions where summer lasts only a few weeks. During those brief weeks, it feeds and grows. When winter comes, it freezes. Its heart stops. It stops breathing. Ice crystals form throughout its body. It remains frozen for 8 or 9 months. When spring arrives and temperatures rise, the caterpillar thaws and resumes feeding. It may take several years of this freeze-thaw cycle before the caterpillar has grown enough to pupate and become a moth. How do these insects survive freezing? They produce cryoprotectants, chemicals similar to antifreeze. Glycerol is common. These chemicals prevent ice from forming inside cells, where it would cause fatal damage. Ice can form between cells, but the cells themselves remain intact. Some insects also produce ice-nucleating proteins that control where ice forms, ensuring it happens in less critical areas of the body first. Fact 82. Polar bears have black skin under white fur. Polar bears are symbols of the Arctic, their white coats blending with snow and ice. If you could shave a polar bear, you would discover its skin is black. This dark skin serves an important purpose. Black surfaces absorb heat from sunlight more efficiently than light-coloured surfaces. In the Arctic, where every bit of warmth matters, this adaptation helps the bear stay warm. The fur itself is not actually white. Each hair is hollow and transparent. The hairs scatter and reflect light, making them appear white, similar to how snow looks white even though ice is clear. These hollow hairs also trap air, providing excellent insulation. Sunlight can penetrate through the clear hairs and reach the black skin, where it is absorbed as heat. Polar bears are also protected by a thick layer of fat beneath the skin, sometimes up to 10 centimeters thick. This blubber provides both insulation and energy reserves during times when hunting is difficult. White on the outside, black underneath, insulated by air and fat, the polar bear is engineered for survival in the ice. Every layer serves a purpose. Fact 83. Jellyfish can reproduce by cloning themselves. Jellyfish drift through the ocean, seemingly simple and passive. But their life cycle is complex and includes several stages with different forms. And at certain stages, they can create copies of themselves without the need for mating. Most jellyfish begin life as fertilized eggs that develop into larvae. These polyps can live for months or even years. When conditions are right, a polyp undergoes a process called strobilation. It divides itself horizontally into multiple disc-shaped segments. Each segment breaks free and becomes a tiny jellyfish. This is asexual reproduction, creating clones without any genetic mixing. Some jellyfish species can also reproduce by budding. A polyp grows smaller polyps on its body, which eventually break off and become independent. This flexibility in reproduction helps jellyfish survive in changing environments. In the currents, jellyfish multiply and transform, flowing between different forms, adapting their reproduction to match their world. One body becoming many, life repeating through division. Fact 84. The human body produces faint light. If you could see with perfect sensitivity in total darkness, you would notice something strange. But with a faint light that rises and falls throughout the day, this light is incredibly dim, about 1,000 times weaker than what human eyes can detect. But it is real. Scientists have measured it using extremely sensitive cameras. The glow comes from biochemical reactions in your cells. As your metabolism works, breaking down food and producing energy, some reactions create free radicals. When these free radicals interact with proteins and fats, they occasionally release photons, which are particles of light. Your face glows more brightly than the rest of your body. Probably because facial skin is more exposed to sun and environmental factors that increase metabolic activity. This bioluminescence is completely different from the light produced by fireflies or deep-sea creatures. It is much weaker and serves no known purpose. It is simply a byproduct of being alive, of having chemistry happening inside you. You are made of stardust, powered by electricity, and yes, you glow, faintly, invisibly, but constantly. Fact 85. Some fish can walk on land. The boundary between water and land is not as firm as it might seem. Several fish species have evolved the ability to leave the water and move across land, blurring the line between aquatic and terrestrial life. Mudskippers are perhaps the most famous walking fish. They live in mangrove swamps and tidal flats. When the tide goes out, they do not hide in pools. Instead, they use their strong pectoral fins to walk and hop across the mud. The climbing perch can breathe air directly. It has a special organ above its gills that absorbs oxygen from air. During droughts, when ponds dry up, climbing perch can travel overland to find new water. They use their fins and gill covers to push themselves forward. Some eels can slither across wet grass at night, moving between bodies of water. Their elongated bodies and ability to breathe through their skin allow them to survive brief journeys on land. These fish are not fully adapted to land. They are explorers, opportunists, creatures of the boundary. They remind us that the transition from sea to land, which happened hundreds of millions of years ago, is still being rehearsed in small ways today. Fact 86. Fire ants create rafts from their own bodies. When heavy rains flood the areas where fire ants live, the colony faces a deadly threat. Their underground nests fill with water. But fire ants have evolved a remarkable survival strategy. They become a boat. Thousands of ants link together, gripping each other with their mandibles and legs. They form a tightly woven structure that floats on the water's surface. This living raft can carry the queen, larvae, eggs, and food supplies to safety. The raft is waterproof. The tight weaving of ant bodies prevents water from seeping through. Individual ants on the bottom may be submerged, but they rotate positions periodically so no ant drowns. These rafts can float for weeks if necessary, drifting with currents until they reach dry land. They can withstand waves, rain, and disturbances. If the raft is broken apart, the ants quickly reform it. This is collective survival at its most literal. Each ant is expendable, but the colony persists. No single ant directs the construction. Each responds to local conditions and the ants around it. From simple rules and cooperation emerges a vessel, a strategy, a way to transform disaster into merely another challenge. Fact 87. A single drop of seawater contains millions of living things. Dip a cup into the ocean, and you are holding much more than water. You are holding a universe of life, most of it invisible to your eyes. A single drop of seawater, just a few milliliters, can contain millions of viruses, hundreds of thousands of bacteria, thousands of protists and phytoplankton, and various larvae and eggs. If you could see them all, you would be stunned by the density and diversity. These microscopic organisms form the foundation of marine ecosystems. Phytoplankton perform photosynthesis, producing much of the oxygen in the atmosphere. Bacteria break down organic matter and recycle nutrients. Viruses regulate bacterial populations and influence genetic exchange. Many of these organisms are species we have not yet identified or studied. Every sample of seawater contains unknowns, creatures with strange shapes and stranger lifestyles. Fact 88. Life can thrive in boiling acid. There are places on Earth that seem completely hostile to life. Environments that would destroy most living tissue in seconds. Yet, even here, life exists. These extreme environments are home to extremophiles, organisms that thrive where others cannot survive. In Yellowstone National Park and similar volcanic areas, hot springs reach temperatures above 80 degrees Celsius. The water is acidic and filled with toxic chemicals. But colourful mats of bacteria coat the springs, creating rainbow patterns around the edges. These bacteria do not use photosynthesis. Instead, they derive energy from chemicals like sulfur or iron dissolved in the hot water. It allows life to exist independently of sunlight. Some extremophiles live in even harsher conditions. In Ethiopia's Danakil Depression, volcanic springs have pH levels below 1, more acidic than stomach acid. Temperatures can exceed 100 degrees Celsius. Still, specialized microbes survive. Studying extremophiles helps scientists understand the limits of life. It also provides clues about where life might exist elsewhere in the universe. If life can survive in Earth's most extreme environments, perhaps it can survive in the harsh conditions on other planets or moons. Life is more resilient than we once thought. It does not need comfort. It needs only chemistry and opportunity. Fact 89. Plants perform calculations to survive the night. During the day, plants perform photosynthesis, converting sunlight into sugar. At night, when photosynthesis stops, plants must carefully ration their stored starch to last until sunrise. Run out of starch too early, and the plant will starve before morning. Use starch too slowly, and energy is wasted. The plant needs to balance consumption perfectly. As night progresses, the plant continuously recalculates. If more starch is available than needed, consumption slows. If reserves are running low, the plant conserves more carefully. This is not conscious thought. There are no numbers or equations, but the molecular mechanisms in plant cells perform a division operation. The result adjusts metabolic rates to match available resources with time remaining. This mathematical precision helps plants survive in environments where resources are limited and timing is critical. Even without brains or awareness, plants compute. Inside every leaf, as darkness falls, calculations begin. Silent mathematics keeping the plant alive until morning comes again. Fact 90. Owls fly in complete silence. Most birds make some sound when they fly. The air rushing over and around their wings creates turbulence and noise. But owls have evolved to fly silently, making them incredibly effective nighttime hunters. 3 adaptations allow owls to fly without sound. First, their feathers have soft fringed edges rather than smooth edges. This breaks up the turbulent air and prevents the whistling sound most birds make. Second, owls have a velvety coating on their feathers that dampens sound. This soft surface absorbs vibrations rather than reflecting them. Third, the feathers on an owl's wings are arranged in a special pattern that further reduces noise. The leading edge has a comb-like structure that manipulates airflow. This silent flight gives owls a huge advantage. They hunt primarily by sound, listening for the rustle of a mouse in leaves or the squeak of a rat. If the owl made noise while flying, prey would hear it coming and hide. But the owl approaches in silence, and the prey has no warning. Silent wings, sharp hearing, and darkness combine to make owls nearly perfect hunters. They glide through the night like ghosts, heard only when they choose to call. Otherwise, they are invisible, inaudible, present only in the moment of the strike. Fact 91. Flatworms can regrow entire bodies from fragments. Cut some animals in half and both halves die, cut others and one half might survive, but cut a planarian flatworm into pieces, and each piece can become a complete worm. This regeneration ability is one of the most extreme in the animal kingdom. This is possible because planarians contain abundant stem cells called neoblasts. When the worm is cut, neoblasts migrate to the wound site and begin forming new tissue. They rebuild organs, nervous system, muscles, everything. Scientists have cut planarians into dozens of pieces, each piece regenerated. One worm became many. This is not reproduction in the normal sense, but it achieves the same result. The genetic material is preserved and multiplied. Even more remarkably, when a planarian's head is severed, the new head retains memories. Researchers trained planarians to respond to light, then cut off their heads. The regenerated head still showed the learned behavior, suggesting memories are stored not just in the brain but throughout the body. In quiet streams, flatworms glide along, soft and vulnerable, yet they carry within them the power to remake themselves completely, to become many from one, to survive what would end most lives. Fact 92. Pigeons can recognize individual human faces. Pigeons are common in cities worldwide. Many people see them as pests or ignore them entirely, but these birds are far more perceptive than most realize. Research has shown that pigeons can learn to recognize individual human faces. In experiments, people wearing different clothes approached pigeons. Some people fed the birds, while others scared them away. The pigeons learned to associate specific faces with positive or negative experiences. Even when the people changed clothes or approached from different directions, the pigeons remembered their faces. They would approach people who had fed them and avoid or flee from people who had chased them. Pigeons can also distinguish between abstract concepts. They have been trained to categorize objects as tree or not tree, human or not human. They can recognize artistic styles, telling apart paintings by Picasso from paintings by Monet. In cities around the world, pigeons watch us. They remember who we are. They recognize our faces in crowds. We may think of them as simple creatures, but behind those orange eyes are minds tracking, learning, remembering. The next time a pigeon looks at you, it might know exactly who you are. Fact 93. Ancient viral DNA makes up part of your genome. Your body is built from instructions stored in your DNA. But not all of that DNA originally came from your ancestors. A significant portion, about 8%, came from viruses. Millions of years ago, retroviruses infected our distant ancestors. Usually, this happens in regular body cells and dies with the host. But occasionally, a virus infected a sperm or egg cell. That viral DNA became part of the genetic material passed to offspring. Over millions of years, this viral DNA accumulated. Most of it is now inactive, broken, or mutated beyond recognition. But some of these ancient viral sequences have been repurposed by evolution. They now serve useful functions. Some viral genes help with brain development. Others are essential for pregnancy. Syncytin, a protein crucial for forming the placenta, originated from a viral gene. Without this ancient infection, mammalian pregnancy as we know it might not be possible. Fact 94. The largest living organism is an underground fungus. When we think of large organisms, we picture whales or elephants or giant sequoia trees. But the largest known living organism is neither animal nor plant. It is a fungus, and most of it is invisible. In the Malheur National Forest in Oregon, a single organism of Armillaria, Solidipes, commonly called honey mushroom, spreads beneath the forest floor. This individual fungus covers approximately 2,385 acres, roughly equivalent to 1,665 football fields. Above ground, you might see occasional clusters of mushrooms. But these are just fruiting bodies, like apples on a tree. The real organism is the mycelium, a network of thread-like hyphae that spreads through the soil and inside tree roots. Scientists determined it was a single individual by analyzing its genetic material. The fungus is genetically identical across its entire range, confirming it is one organism, not many similar individuals growing near each other. Age estimates suggest this fungus is between 2,400 and 8,650 years old. Though such estimates are uncertain, it weighs perhaps hundreds or thousands of tons, making it not only the largest but potentially one of the heaviest organisms on Earth. The fungus grows slowly, spreading through the soil, feeding on wood and organic matter. It kills some trees but also recycles their nutrients back into the ecosystem. Fact 95. Bees can learn by watching other bees. Intelligence and learning are not limited to large-brained animals. Even insects with nervous systems containing fewer than 1 million neurons can learn from each other. Scientists conducted an experiment with bumblebees. They trained some bees to roll small balls into a goal to receive a sugar reward. Other bees, untrained, watched from nearby. When the observer bees were given the opportunity, many successfully rolled balls into the goal without any trial and error. They had learned by watching. Some even improved on the technique, finding more efficient ways to move the balls. This is called social learning, and it was thought to be rare outside of mammals and birds. That bees can do, it shows their brains, though tiny, are capable of sophisticated information processing. In natural conditions, bees learn from each other constantly. Young bees learn which flowers to visit by following experienced foragers. They learn navigation routes by flying with others. They share information about food sources through the famous waggle dance, which communicates both direction and distance. The hive is not just a colony, it is a culture, with knowledge passed between individuals and across generations. What one bee discovers, others can learn. What works is copied and refined. Fact 96. Some fish sleep with half their brain awake. Sleep is essential for most animals. but sleeping leaves you vulnerable. For fish living in open water, the challenge is even greater. They must keep swimming to avoid sinking or drifting into danger, and they must stay alert for predators. So how do they sleep? Some fish, like certain species of sharks and parrotfish, use unihemispheric sleep. One hemisphere of the brain sleeps, while the other remains partially awake and functional. This is the same strategy used by dolphins and some birds. It allows the animal to rest while maintaining essential functions. For fish, this means continuing to swim slowly, monitoring the environment, and responding to threats. During sleep, the resting half of the brain shows the slow wave patterns characteristic of deep sleep. The active half shows more typical waking patterns. The fish continues moving but more slowly and with less coordination. Not all fish sleep this way. Some find shelter and enter deeper sleep. Others may not sleep in the traditional sense at all, but have periods of reduced activity and responsiveness. Fact 97. Chameleons change colour for more than camouflage. Everyone knows chameleons can change colour. Most assume this is for camouflage, to blend with surroundings and hide from predators. But colour-changing chameleons is more complex and serves multiple purposes. Chameleons change colour primarily for communication and temperature regulation. The dominant male might display bright yellows, oranges, and blues, showing his strength and status. The subordinate male might turn dark or dull colours, signalling submission. During courtship, males display bright colours to attract females. Females change colour to signal whether they are receptive or not. A receptive female might show greens and yellows. A pregnant female might display dark colours with bright spots, warning males to stay away. Chameleons are not just hiding, they are talking. Their skin is a display screen showing emotions, status, and intentions. Every colour shift is a message, a response. A word in a language written in hues we can barely translate. Fact 98. Earth's magnetic field guides animal migrations. Every year, billions of animals migrate across the planet. Birds fly thousands of miles between breeding and wintering grounds. Sea turtles return to the exact beaches where they were born. Salmon swim from the ocean back to their natal streams. How do they find their way? Many animals navigate using Earth's magnetic field, an invisible force that humans cannot sense without instruments but that other species detect and follow. Sea turtles, hatched on a beach, swim out into the ocean. Decades later, they return to that same beach to lay their own eggs. Scientists believe they memorize the magnetic signature of their birthplace, a unique combination of field strength and angle. When they are ready to nest, they follow the magnetic map home. Migratory birds sense magnetic fields, possibly through special proteins in their eyes or through tiny crystals of magnetite in their brains. This gives them a sense of direction, even when the sun and stars are hidden by clouds. The magnetic field connects the planet in invisible lines. Along these lines, life flows in seasonal rhythms. Migrations, shaped by ancient forces. Journeys guided by something we cannot see but animals have learned to feel. Fact 99. Life continues to adapt and evolve in new ways. Life has been on Earth for nearly 4 billion years. In that time, it has never stopped changing. Every generation, mutations occur, environments shift, selection pressures change, and slowly, gradually, new forms emerge. Evolution is not finished. It continues right now, all around us, in forests and oceans, in cities and farms. Bacteria evolve resistance to antibiotics in decades. Insects adapt to pesticides. Plants adjust to changing climates. Animals learn new behaviors and pass them to their offspring. Urban environments create new evolutionary pressures. Birds in cities sing at higher pitches to be heard over traffic noise. Moths in polluted areas have become darker to match soot-covered trees. Fish in rivers contaminated with pollution have evolved tolerance to toxins. We are witnessing evolution in real time, watching as life reshapes itself to meet new challenges. Fact 100. You are part of this continuing story. We have travelled through 100 truths about life on Earth. We have met jellyfish that never die and fungi that stretch across forests. We have learned about trees that talk and ants that build with their bodies. We have descended into deep oceans and climbed frozen tundras. Every fact we explored connects to you. The oxygen you breathe comes from ancient cyanobacteria and modern phytoplankton. The atoms in your body were forged in stars that died billions of years ago. The viral DNA in your genome links you to infections that happened millions of years before humans existed. You are not separate from nature. You are nature. You are made of the same elements, powered by the same chemistry, shaped by the same evolutionary forces that created every organism we have discussed. Your body contains trillions of cells working together. You host trillions more microbes that help keep you alive. Your nervous system produces electricity. Your metabolism generates light. Your genes carry history written over millions of years.